Chapter 3076, 3076 Touch and Go 1. 3076 Touch and Go 1. Just then, they heard hurried footsteps approach them. General Gucci! General Gucci! The person sounded like he was about to cry. Wasn't that Kim Pan? If Feng Wu were here, she would immediately recognize this man. It was none other than Lord Pan, who had been sleeping in a tree while his people went out to hunt Feng Wu. Lord Pan couldn't understand it. He had only been going to take a midday nap, but when he woke up, it was already dark. That shouldn't have been an issue, because he didn't need to personally go after Feng Wu. However, where was she? Lord Pan knew he had 10 teams that consisted of his best junior spiritual kings. General Gucci had done him a favor by making him the leader of the 10 teams. Where was everybody? At first, Lord Pan just thought the others had traveled further than expected. However, the longer he waited, the more uneasy he felt. He tried to contact those people through the badges to tell them to come back. To his horror, no one responded. He wanted to talk to individual team members, and found their names had turned gray. That was to say, no. Lord Pan's eyes widened in terror. How was that possible? He looked in the direction of the sacred imperial spider's territory, and seemed to feel the cold gaze of the spider. Terrified, Lord Pan ran toward the Peacock King's territory. The Dongsang Kingdom worshipped the Peacock King, and it normally wouldn't kill the Dongsang people. Lord Pan's arrival disturbed the peace in the cottage. General Gucci, Mr. Sakiya, something terrible has happened. They're all dead. Sakiya and Gucci looked at each other, and Sakiya frowned. Who's dead? Those 50 people. The 50 junior and intermediate spiritual kings in my group are all dead. Gucci's pupils contracted. Even Sakiya couldn't believe his ears. There were many junior spiritual kings, but Pan's teams had the most elite ones. Sakiya almost had a heart attack. He had just lost the potion, and his best 50 assassins were gone. Sakiya felt his head pound. Mr. Sakiya. Sakiya's face was so livid that Gucci thought he was going to faint. Taking a deep breath, Sakiya said, "Tell me what happened." Pan was about to speak, when Sakiya smirked. "If you keep anything from me." The threat in his tone couldn't be any more obvious. Pan trembled, but didn't dare withhold any information. His teeth chattered when he spoke again. There was a girl in a red dress. It had to be Feng Wu. Pan described how they had met Feng Wu in the woods. I saw them follow her into the woods before I took my nap. A nap? Sakiya asked differently. Pan was scared out of his wits. Sir, please forgive me. Chapter 3077, 3077 Touch and Go 2. 3077 Touch and Go 2. Sakiya asked mildly. Are you referring to Feng Wu, the girl with the divine phoenix blood? Pan nodded. Yes, it was her. Sakiya nodded. Did your 50 people disappear in the spider's territory? Pan said, yes. Sakiya almost felt sorry for Pan. That'll be all. Pan was surprised. Was Sakiya letting him off? Before he could do anything else, he realized his head had separated from his body. His head flew, and blood gushed out of his neck. Sakiya decapitated the man with a wave of his sleeve. Pan couldn't make another sound. He was dead. The last thought in his mind was what he used to say. Mr. Sakiya always killed someone with a smile on his face. That was why Sakiya had seemed sorry for Pan. Pan only knew how terrifying Sakiya was when he was killed. Master, where are you going? Bujingyu followed his master. Instead of answering the question, Sakiya said to the Peacock King, since you don't have anything else to do, how about another deal? The Peacock King smiled. I'm listening. Do my kingdom a favor, and I'll give you 3 supreme-level Golden Crow pills. Despite having lost 50 excellent junior spiritual kings, Sakiya soon calmed down. They would have no useful junior spiritual kings for a while. Before, the Peacock King would have agreed to the terms, but Feng Wu had raised its expectations, so it shook its head. What about 5? Sakiya frowned. I want a semi-divine Golden Crow pill, the Peacock King said greedily. Sakiya was a little displeased, but he still nodded. All right. He and the Peacock King then headed for the sacred Imperial Spider's territory. Bu Jingyu and Mu Yan were very curious. Everybody followed Sakia. At the same moment, Feng Wu was heading for the Zhenhua Empire's border, right after she made that deal with the Peacock King. It was still very dangerous. She didn't know if she could fool the Peacock King. As soon as Jun Linyuan drank the potion that was in her pocket, he would get his ability back. All problems would be solved. Quickly, Jun Linyuan must have the potion. The Dongseng Kingdom was on the move. In the fortress, Elder Helion was shocked by the news Xianyi brought him. What? Feng Wu went to look for the immortal spiritual fruit on her own. In the central region. Is she even human? Has she forgotten what her capability is like? She's only a junior spiritual king. I know she's talented. Her grades are proof of that. But it still can't change the fact that she has only been cultivating for a few years. The 7 Beast Kings can kill her without breaking a sweat. Elder Helion was panic-stricken. He raised his head to look into a pair of terrifying eyes. Chapter 3078. 3078 Feng Wu's Fault. 3078 Feng Wu's Fault. Elder Helion was so anxious, but when he raised his head, he met a pair of terrifying eyes. His Royal Highness. Elder Helion greeted the teenager. Your Royal Highness. The Crown Prince had woken up. How exciting. Jun Linyuan asked coldly. What were you talking about? Elder Helion couldn't help but complain to Jun Linyuan. Your Royal Highness, that Feng Wu is ridiculous. She went into the Dayless Woods all by herself. Not only that, she also went to the Central Region to find the immortal spiritual fruit. The Central Region. The immortal spiritual fruit. There was a murderous look in the Crown Prince's eyes. Elder Helion went on. We've just received news that the fruit is indeed there. It's in the Peacock King's territory, but the Dongseng Kingdom learned the fact earlier than we did. Sakia himself is guarding the tree. Elder Helion looked like he was about to cry. That girl is only a junior spiritual king. She's as weak as an ant in those woods. How can she be so bold? Xianyi gave Jun Linyuan an anxious glance. He hadn't expected to see Jun Linyuan when he came to see Elder Helion. Seeing the look on Boss Jun's face, Xianyi knew they were in trouble. The Crown Prince turned around, supporting himself on the doorframe. Xianyi panicked and went after the Crown Prince. Elder Helion was perplexed. What's wrong? Where are you going? Xianyi shouted. Gather our people. We're going to the Dayless Woods, the Peacock King's territory. It took Elder Helion a moment to digest that information. What? What? Holy crap. Elder Helion finally realized the Crown Prince was going to rescue that girl. Yes, she was a semi-divine medicine refiner, which was very important. Even if His Royal Highness didn't do anything, Elder Helion would get that girl back. His Royal Highness was so weak that he needed to support himself on the wall just to walk around. Go into the woods. Oh no. It was all Feng Wu's fault. If anything happened to the Crown Prince, what would become of the Zhenhua Empire? Elder Helion couldn't imagine it. What should he do now? He had to stop the Crown Prince. However, when Elder Helion blocked Jun Linyuan's way, Jun Linyuan glared at him. Helion, do you have a death wish? Elder Helion was speechless. How terrifying. The Crown Prince didn't need his spiritual energy to intimidate other people. He had no choice but to let Jun Linyuan go. Jun Linyuan stumbled along the wall and took out a jade plate. Feng Tian. I don't care if you found that thing. Come back to me now. There was no warmth in Jun Linyuan's voice. Feng Tian. Feng's calm voice came from the other end. Your Royal Highness, I'll need 2 hours. You have the 2 hours. 1 minute late, and you can collect my body. Even without his spiritual essence, the Crown Prince was as handsome as ever. People followed him with admiration in their eyes. Like Feng Wu, Jun Linyuan also carried a concealing jade. Chapter 3079. 3079 Do we have to save her? 3079 Do we have to save her? There were no more than 3 pieces of concealing jade in this world, and Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan each had one. Outsiders didn't know that the Crown Prince had lost his ability. They only saw that he was a little pale. If Jun Linyuan wanted to do something, no one could change his mind. The only person who could do that was in the Dayless Woods. Xianyi was worried sick, but there was nothing he could do but stay by Jun Linyuan's side. Meanwhile, Elder Helion was exasperated. He had to gather his people. Their three most capable cultivators were confronting the three bosses of the Dongseng Kingdom and couldn't be distracted. He couldn't let them know. Elder Helion was the highest-ranking official below them. Elder Dongfang was also of that level. Below them were the ordinary spiritual overlords like Elder Wu. Elder Helion and Elder Dongfang were both senior spiritual overlords. Yes, Elder Dongfang. Elder Helion told Elder Wu to inform the elders of the Imperial College, while he went to fetch Elder Dongfang. For a major event like this, the two schools would join hands to fight against the Dongseng Kingdom. Elder Helion went to see Elder Dongfang with that conviction. Elder Dongfang said, "What? Are we going to the Peacock King's territory in the Dayless Woods?" Elder Helion said, "Yes. Now. Quickly." Elder Dongfang wasn't alone. Next to her was Dongfang Ziyun, her favorite niece. Elder Dongfang was perplexed. Why? Why has war broken out? I must have an explanation. Elder Helion had to tell her what happened to Feng Wu. According to him, it was a war between the two fortresses. All personal vendetta, if there was any, had to be put aside. He thought Elder Dongfang would go with him right away, but Elder Dongfang and Dongfang Ziyan only looked at each other before they told him, "You go ahead. We'll be there in a minute." Elder Helion said, "Hurry up." He then joined the 10 elders waiting outside and entered the Dayless Woods first. Dongfang Ziyan rose to her feet as soon as Elder Helion left. "Aunt Dongfang." She tugged at Elder Dongfang's sleeve. "Did you hear that?" Elder Dongfang nodded and started putting on her battle suit. However, her movements were exceptionally slow. Dongfang Ziyan was flustered. "Don't go." Elder Dongfang stared at her. Dongfang Ziyan said righteously, "Feng Wu went into the Dayless Woods of her own accord. We didn't make her. Why should we help her now? You have no idea how arrogant Feng Wu is. She's never thought of me as her equal. If she's dead, I'll be the best medicine refiner in the fortress." Seeing that her aunt was still putting on the suit, Dongfang Ziyan grabbed the robe. "If Feng Wu's dead, no one will steal His Royal Highness from me." Her voice sounded as tiny as a mosquito. Chapter 3080 3080 We're rich. 3080 We're rich. Elder Dongfang sighed. "Let go. Aunt Dongfang." Dongfang Ziyan wanted to cry, thinking her aunt didn't want to help her. Elder Dongfang said, "How can you be so stupid?" Dongfang Ziyan said, "What?" Elder Dongfang said, "When the Dongseng Kingdom is involved, the two schools must join hands and fight our common enemy. No one can defy that rule." "What you said makes sense. Feng Wu brought this on herself, and we're not obligated to help her. However, we have to look the part. Do you know what to do now?" Elder Dongfang gave Dongfang Ziyan a stern look. Dongfang Ziyan knew her aunt well. Her eyes lit up. "We have to go, but there's no need to hurry. We can take our time, right?" "You've finally come to your senses," Elder Dongfang said grumpily. Dongfang Ziyan flushed with excitement. Elder Dongfang added, "His Royal Highness will owe us a favor, and that's very hard to come by." Dongfang Ziyan nodded obediently. Elder Dongfang liked the feeling of being respected and enjoyed Dongfang Ziyun's obedience, so she decided to teach her a little more. If your favor didn't seem to take much, the other party may not remember it. However, if you come to their rescue at the critical moment, they'll remember it for a long time. Dongfang Ziyan was thrilled. "Let's do that. We'll save His Royal Highness, and he'll owe us a favor." In that case, Dongfang Ziyan flushed. Elder Dongfang didn't stop her, but enjoyed seeing this. At the same moment, Feng Wu was running as fast as she could. Quickly, she had to move faster. All problems would be solved once Jun Linyuan drank the potion. She couldn't avoid the sacred imperial spider's territory on her way back to the fortress. She got there in no time, and was going to take Feng Sun with her, so that the spider wouldn't eat him. Even if the spider didn't eat him, Lord Pan might harm him later. Feng Wu had played a little trick on Lord Pan, and the man should still be sleeping. Her stomach lurched when she saw that the branch was empty. It wasn't her luckiest day. She had wanted to kill Lord Pan, but it wouldn't have been an easy job, and Feng Wu had been in a hurry. More trouble. Feng Wu rushed into the woods to find the happy teenager digging for badges in the pit. There was mud on his face, but his eyes were exceptionally bright. He was thrilled to see that Feng Wu was back. "Xiao Wu, we're rich. We'll be very rich. You have no idea how many badges I found." Chapter 3081, 3081 Confrontation. 3081 Confrontation. Feng Wu looked like she was about to cry. She grabbed Feng Sun's arm. "My dear brother, we should get going." Feng Sun wanted to stay. "There are so many badges. I haven't collected them all yet." Feng Wu wanted to drag him away. In a critical moment like this, badges were the last thing on her mind. They had to hurry up. Feng Wu saw a black bag, which was very heavy when she picked it up. It was filled with badges. Apart from the bag, Feng Wu also saw Feng Sun's robe on the ground. He had made it into a bundle, which was also filled with badges of the Dongseng Kingdom. Feng Wu didn't know how many badges there were in total. She threw the bag and the bundle into her storage space before dragging Feng Sun out of the pit. "Go!" She turned around to look into the black eyes of the sacred imperial spider. It was less than half a meter away from Feng Wu. Those eyes made Feng Wu jump, and she almost fell back into the pit. The spider stared at Feng Wu. "Are you leaving?" Feng Wu grew anxious. If her prediction was right, Sakiya should be after her now. He would hunt her down for the potion, and for what happened to Lord Pan's people. This place would be too dangerous. As for the spider's safety, Feng Wu shook her head. She had asked the Peacock King about the spider when they struck the deal. Why did the 7 Beast Kings live in the Dayless Woods between the two forces? Why hadn't any of them died yet? The Peacock King bragged to Feng Wu about the bond between the 7 kings. No matter how many conflicts they had on a daily basis, they would always join hands and fight against humans. That was why all the capable cultivators in Peace Grassland had been balancing each other out over the years, and only spiritual kings took part in the actual fighting. Feng Wu wasn't worried about the spider's safety now, because Sakiya couldn't kill it. She told the spider, "We must get back to our fortress. I'll visit you some other day." The spider took her words very seriously. "Some other day? When is that?" Feng Wu was speechless. She scratched her head. "How about 10 days later?" The spider thought about the suggestion. Feng Wu was so anxious. "You and the other 6 Beast Kings aren't worried about your safety, but we are. Just let us go." Each second felt as long as an hour. Finally the spider sighed. "If you really want to go then." Feng Wu dashed off before the spider could finish. But right at that moment, whoosh, whoosh, someone landed in front of Feng Wu. It was Sakiya. Another figure followed Sakiya. It was the Peacock King. Feng Wu was speechless. Before she could say anything, Feng Sun shouted, "It's you, Sakiya." The spider was alarmed when it saw the Peacock King. What was that bird doing in its territory? Sakiya was surprised to see Feng Wu. Chapter 3082, 3082 Unexpected Encounter. 3082 Unexpected Encounter. Sakiya immediately spotted Feng Wu. He had never met Feng Wu before, but that didn't stop him from recognizing her, since he had seen her portrait. Feng Wu was too unique to miss. Wearing her red dress, the girl was a sight one couldn't ignore. Her eyes were as bright as stars, and she reminded one of a fairy in the woods. There was no one like her, certainly not in Peace Grassland. Sakiya immediately said, "You're Feng Wu." What other choice did Feng Wu have? She regretted putting her red dress back on and removing her disguise. She had let her guard down. There was no point in denying who she really was now. She nodded at Sakiya. "Hello, Mr. Sakiya." "Boxenoviel. Com." Their eyes met. An indescribable energy filled the air. 2 capable cultivators were communicating with their eyes. Mr. Sakiya was a polite, wise and calm man. His quality made him a very tough opponent. Mr. Sakiya knew himself well, and he knew only a handful of people wouldn't be intimidated by his presence. Mu Yan was a supreme-level medicine refiner, but she was still uneasy around Sakiya. However, now that Sakiya had met Feng Wu, he realized in surprise that the girl was remaining perfectly calm. She's the third one, Sakiya thought. The first was Jun Lin Yuan, the second was Night Owl, and Feng Wu was the third teenager who impressed him. So many talented people were found in this era. However, Sakiya knew how rare this chance was, so he wouldn't show Feng Wu any mercy. Sakiya turned to the sacred imperial spider. You ate 50 of my junior spiritual kings. The spider shook its head innocently. I didn't. It wasn't me. In any other situation, Feng Wu would have laughed at the spider. Sakiya said coldly, that wasn't a question. The spider was speechless. Sakiya would hold it accountable no matter what. The spider was angry. Aren't you supposed to show me the evidence? Where's your evidence? The spider was furious. Sakiya said calmly, I'll have my evidence when I cut open your stomach. The spider looked down at its abdomen. It both hated and was afraid of Sakiya. That had nothing to do with Sakiya's cultivation level. Sakiya had never fought the spider before, and the spider didn't know what his real capability was. However, the man could command all the forces in his fortress, and the spider hated that. Sakiya didn't beat around the bush. If you back off now, I'll forget what you've done. The spider wasn't stupid. Sakiya hadn't looked away from Feng Wu ever since he arrived. She was his target. As long as the spider didn't intervene, Sakiya wouldn't look into the matter of the spider eating his 50 subordinates. Chapter 3084, 3084 Which plan? 3084 Which plan? He didn't let his astonishment show. The Peacock King had raised its price. He had offered the Peacock King a semi-divine pill, but the Peacock King was asking Feng Wu for 2. The price had gone up. Sakiya didn't know how to react. Feng Wu told the Peacock King, I'll give you 4. The Peacock King was intrigued, but hadn't made up its mind. Feng Wu then said, Plan A, I give you 4, and you stay out of this conflict helping no one. Plan B, I give you 8, but you'll have to stall Mr. Sakiya while my brother and I get away. Plan C, I give you 10 and you kill Mr. Sakiya for me. Feng Wu smiled at the Peacock King. Which plan do you prefer? Boxin-OVL. COM. The Peacock King was astonished. She talked about semi-divine pills like she was giving out candy. Sakiya wouldn't believe it, and nor would the Peacock King. Feng Wu ignored Sakiya, and only talked to the Peacock King. You don't need to worry about me having the pills or not. Would I make the offer if I didn't have them? Just tell me which plan you want to choose. Feng Wu was luring the Peacock King into a trap. When it made a choice, the Dongseng Kingdom wouldn't trust it anymore. Any of the 3 plans would benefit Feng Wu. She had deliberately set the reward of Plan B so high, just to make the Peacock King choose it. The Peacock King was tempted. For it was a sweet deal. It was 1 pill more than what Sakiya offered, and it wouldn't put the Peacock King in any danger. 8 pills sounded irresistible. Plan C was too difficult. It was out of the question. The Peacock King couldn't decide which plan it should choose. Sakiya looked from the Peacock King to Feng Wu in surprise. He hardly ever lost control of his emotions, but it was probably because no one had ever been able to surprise him. He never thought a junior spiritual king could talk to the Peacock King, let alone fool it. He regretted letting Feng Wu talk to the Peacock King. He stopped forward, blocking the Peacock King's sight. He then narrowed his eyes. Young lady, you're such a surprise. Feng Wu thought. You have no idea. A group of people appeared behind Sakiya. They were all familiar faces. There were Gucci Mu Yen, Bu Jingyu, Sakuran and some capable assassins. Sakiya heard them, but he never took his eyes off Feng Wu. This girl with the divine phoenix blood had amazed him. Do you know what you're talking about? Mu Yen stepped forward and sneered at Feng Wu. Semi-divine pills aren't like supreme pills. You can never produce so many. Sakiya had suspected Mu Yen before, and Mu Yen was eager to ingratiate herself with Sakiya. Feng Wu gave her a curious look. Chapter 3085. 3085 Why force me? 3085 Why force me? Sakia nodded at Feng Wu, agreeing with what Mu Yan said. Bu Jingyu stumbled back when he saw Feng Wu. It was her. That fiend. Feng Wu glanced at Bu Jingyu with a smile. Bu Jingyu almost screamed, and his face went ghastly pale. He kept falling back and didn't dare meet Feng Wu's eyes. That was so frightening. He was worried about his master. Would he be that fiend's match? Feng Wu looked at the Peacock King. You know what my semi-divine pills are like. Of course the Peacock King knew. It had tried them before. They were very effective. Boxin OVL. My Lord Peacock, don't let her fool you. Mu Yan couldn't wait to show her talent to make up for her previous mistakes. She jumped at the opportunity to slander Feng Wu. Mu Yan stared at her. She only had a glimpse of Feng Wu at first, but now, she finally saw Feng Wu's face clearly. The girl's features were exquisite, and her skin was as fair as snow. Mu Yan couldn't begin to describe how beautiful the girl was. She was dumbfounded. She had never met Feng Wu until now. She knew Feng Wu had the divine phoenix blood, and was a young genius. She also remembered what Sakuran said. Sakuran told her Feng Wu looked just like anybody else. Yes, she didn't have an extra nose or mouth, but not everybody looked as beautiful as she was. Mu Yan had never met anybody so stunning before. Feng Wu was the epitome of beauty. No, Mu Yan refused to think so highly of Feng Wu. She glared at Feng Wu, overwhelmed by jealousy. Feng Wu looked innocently at her. Mu Yan hated her even more. She smirked. Do you realize the Peacock King is talking about semi-divine pills? Feng Wu said lightly. I do. Mu Yan didn't know what to say. She then laughed. You don't know what you're talking about. Do you know how precious semi-divine pills are? You're offering 10 at a time. Only an ignorant person would make such a promise. Do you know who I am? I'm a supreme-level medicine refiner. Yes, you heard me right. A supreme-level medicine refiner. Feng Wu found Mu Yan rather idiotic. So did Feng Sun. They looked at each other without saying a word. Mu Yan thought Feng Wu was scared, so she snorted. She then told the Peacock King, please don't let her fool you. She's a fraud. The Peacock King grew suspicious. Feng Wu rubbed her temple. Why are people always forcing me to show my real capability? Chapter 3086, 3086 Demonstration. 3086 Demonstration. Everybody stared at Feng Wu in amazement, and wondered how stupid she could be. Mu Yan couldn't help but laugh. She had never met anyone so shameless, and decided that Feng Wu was just a pretty face. She was so happy. Feng Wu told the Peacock King, name your terms. The Peacock King was confused. Feng Wu gave it two choices. Which would you like? A semi-divine enhancement pill, or a semi-divine golden crow pill? The Peacock King blurted out, the golden crow pill. Feng Wu said, all right. All right. You can produce that out of the blue, thought Mu Yan. Boxin OVL. Sakia thought Feng Wu was stalling for time, and wanted to stop her. Suddenly, a tiny cauldron appeared. Feng Wu was about to create some pills right in front of them. They all felt the way Elder Dongfang had before. No one believed Feng Wu could do it. She was only a teenager. How could she be a semi-divine medicine refiner? However, the aroma of the herbs soon filled the air. The Peacock King and the sacred imperial spider looked at each other in amazement. Interesting. Realizing something was wrong, Sakia frowned and stepped forward. Feng Sun immediately blocked his way and shouted, Mr. Sakia, are you going to take Xiaowu back to the Dongseng Kingdom, so that you can make her refine medicine only for you? Those words were meant for the two beast kings. As expected, the sacred imperial spider and Peacock King turned their cold gaze on Sakia. Sakia frowned. He could handle the spider, but if the Peacock King joined hands with the spider, he didn't think he could defeat them both. The Peacock King said grimly, Mr. Sakia, why are you in such a hurry? The sacred imperial spider said, it'll be over soon. We'll see how the refinement goes. Mr. Sakia was a clever man, but Feng Wu was better. He didn't believe Feng Wu could succeed. To confirm his belief, Sakia glanced at Mu Yan. Mu Yan gave him a reassuring nod. She'll never succeed, Mu Yan said confidently. Even in the Dongseng Kingdom, we only have one semi-divine medicine refiner, and that is my master. How can the Zhenghua Empire have one? Even if they do, it won't be her, a teenage girl. By the way she speaks, she's not even a medicine refiner. Sakia was a clever man, but he knew very little of refining medicine. Mu Yan didn't always tell him the truth, however, so he had no idea what he was getting into. However, he didn't know that yet. He chose to believe Mu Yan for the time being. He decided to let Feng Wu proceed and see how far she would get. Sakia calmed down and told the Peacock King, I'll give her 2 hours and no more. The Peacock King nodded. However, as Feng Wu added more materials to the cauldron, Mu Yan was shocked by how skilled the girl seemed. Her movements, her calculations, her deductions. Chapter 3087, 3087 Return the Favor. 3087 Return the Favor. Mu Yan suddenly felt uneasy. Just then, Feng Wu shouted, Now! All eyes were on her tiny cauldron. A small platform slowly rose from the bottom of the cauldron. On it was a glowing pill that looked like a bead. It was like the sun rising, and faint light seemed to veil the sky. The Peacock King was astonished. That's a semi-divine golden crow pill. It was so excited that its feathers stood on end. The spider was right behind the Peacock King. Sakia was perplexed. Boxin-OVL. COM. A semi-divine golden crow pill. He wouldn't believe it. How could a girl so young make such a pill? That didn't make any sense. Sakia involuntarily turned to Mu Yan. Mu Yan's face was ghastly pale, and she stiffened as if she had been struck by lightning. Sakia felt his throat dry. Are you saying that's a semi-divine golden crow pill? He stared at Mu Yan, who wished she could be somewhere else. She didn't dare look into Sakia's eyes. Although she was only a supreme-level medicine refiner, she could still recognize a semi-divine pill when she saw one. Sakia didn't know what to say. He looked at Feng Wu, and there was no warmth in his eyes. He knew he had underestimated her. It seemed the surprises never stopped coming. His eyes flickered, and he clenched his hands behind his back. The next second, Sakia dashed toward Feng Wu. He had to have that girl. He regretted having given her that chance, and he wouldn't let it happen again. However, Feng Wu seemed to have anticipated this. Before Sakia got to her, she grabbed Feng Sun and hid behind the Peacock King and the sacred imperial spider. Thump! Sakia exchanged a blow with the Peacock King, and both stumbled back. It all happened so fast that the other people didn't have time to react. By the time they realized what had happened, the two parties had separated. Bu Jingyu hid behind the crowd and stole glances at Feng Wu. He admired Feng Wu for her intelligence. She had set up his clever master in the Peacock King. She had been at such a disadvantage, but she had somehow turned Sakia and the Peacock King against each other. Bu Jingyu rubbed his temple. He knew it. His master wasn't her match. Sakia narrowed his eyes and scolded the Peacock King. Can't you think of anything else apart from the golden crow pill? Those words woke up the Peacock King. He was right. The Dongseng Kingdom gave it more than enough pills each year. The Peacock King hesitated. Sakia needed to take care of the sacred imperial spider. He told the spider, whatever the Dongseng Kingdom offers the Peacock King in the future, we'll prepare the same gifts for you. The spider had eaten 50 Dongseng men, and Sakia was offering it gifts. How generous. Chapter 3088, 3088 June Linyuan freezes. 3088 June Linyuan freezes. The truth was that the sacred imperial spider was tempted. It glanced at Feng Wu, showing off how important it was. Feng Wu smirked. I can make semi-divine pills myself. The sacred imperial spider woke up from its reverie. She was right. The Dongseng Kingdom was only giving it an empty promise, but if it made friends with this girl, it could have an endless stream of pills in the future. She made them so much more easily than expected. At that thought, The spider decided to side with Feng Wu. Sakia's face darkened. He couldn't wait anymore, or the Junwu Empire's fortress would take action. However, as soon as he had that thought, he heard a cold voice behind Feng Wu. Boxenoviel. Com. No one touches her. Those simple words seemed to contain enough power to shake the continent. That voice. Everybody turned around, and their pupils contracted. Two men had arrived. The teenager with deep-set features had the most handsome face. The look in his eyes reminded one of tigers and eagles. Who else could it be but the crown prince of the Junwu Empire? Jun. Bu Jingyu couldn't utter another word. Mu Yan stared at Jun Linyuan in a trance-like state. The Peacock King immediately hid behind Sakia and closed up its huge tail. It moved very slowly, in case Jun Linyuan noticed it. The sacred imperial spider lowered its head, pretending it wasn't there. The teenager's fame was unparalleled. When Jun Linyuan stood there, even if he didn't activate his spiritual essence, he was still the most intimidating figure. Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu was ecstatic. She was genuinely excited. God knew how much she wanted to see him. She had taken so much trouble to obtain that golden potion in her hand. Jun Linyuan might seem intimidating, but Feng Wu knew he was bluffing. Sakia was a clever man. How long could Jun Linyuan put up that facade? All she needed was to use the potion on Jun Linyuan. That was all. Feng Wu didn't want to complicate things further. She ran toward Jun Linyuan while everybody was watching. Your Royal Highness. Before anyone could react, Feng Wu threw herself into the crown prince's arms. Jun Linyuan was astonished. The girl was so enthusiastic. Everybody else was terrified. What was going on? Mu Yan looked like her eyes were going to pop out of their head. What's their relationship? Feng Wu had a syringe in her hand when she jumped into Jun Linyuan's arms. The crown prince smelled her fragrance and felt her breath on his ear. His earlobes turned pink. He glared at Feng Wu, wishing she could control her passion. Covering her movement with her wide sleeves, Feng Wu jabbed the needle into the crown prince's butt. The potion was injected. Jun Linyuan suddenly stiffened. The crown prince had never been treated like this before. What a sensation! He almost lost control. Feng Wu whispered, "Don't move." Chapter 3089. 3089 The Crown Prince's Gaze. 3089 The Crown Prince's Gaze. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu like he wanted to kill her with his eyes. Feng Wu cringed and whispered, "It's the potion. The potion made from the immortal spiritual fruit." Jun Linyuan's eyes lit up. He couldn't begin to describe how surprised he was. Of course, Jun Linyuan knew how important the immortal spiritual fruit was. He had run into Feng Wu back in northern border city when looking for one. However, how could she find it in such a short time, let alone make the potion? It sounded too good to be true. However, the sensation in his but told him otherwise. His fiancée was as amazing as ever. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. He felt embarrassed about what happened. Boxenoviel. Com. Elder Helion, and his people arrived shortly afterward. After them came Elder Dongfang and Dongfang Ziyun. Elder Helion saw Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan in each other's arms, and Feng Wu's hand was on the crown prince's butt. He wanted to cover his eyes. How could they behave this way in broad daylight? Elder Wu was glad to see this. He reminded Elder Helion, "Xiao Wu is from Imperial College." Elder Helion's eyes lit up. Yes, His Royal Highness had chosen a girl from Imperial College. The military academy would be furious. Elder Dongfang and Dongfang Ziyun were astonished when they saw this. Dongfang Ziyun thought she was going to faint. Of course, all this happened in a brief moment. It took Feng Wu less than 3 seconds to finish the injection. In a critical moment like this, she couldn't care about what other people thought. All she wanted was to give Jun Linyuan the potion. Now that her mission was accomplished, she realized what it must look like. Everybody was watching her. Feng Wu was speechless. She slowly let go of Jun Linyuan. However, before she could leave his side, the Crown Prince spoke in a voice so low that only she could hear. "Help me. Feng Wu looked at him in bewilderment. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything, but he trembled a little. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. She knew what was happening. The potion could work wonders, but it needed a moment to take effect. Jun Linyuan didn't have any spiritual essence, and his willpower was what had kept him going so far. Feng Wu was so moved that she put an arm around Jun Linyuan's waist, supporting him. Xianyi glanced at her arm before looking upward. Jun Linyuan had been running faster than him, who hadn't lost his cultivation ability, and his legs only gave out now. Xianyi wanted to roll his eyes. Meanwhile, Sakia finally met Jun Linyuan's gaze. Feng Wu saw regret in Sakia's eyes. He probably thought he shouldn't have given Feng Wu that chance. Sakia suddenly smiled. Your Royal Highness, it's been a while. How have you been? Chapter 3090. 3090. Has he recovered? 3090. Has he recovered? Jun Linyuan kept his gaze on Sakia. Yes, it's been a while. Sakia studied Jun Linyuan's face and couldn't believe the latter had woken up. His own crown prince was still in a coma. Had Jun Linyuan's spiritual essence recovered? Sakia didn't think so. The Peacock King had drunk the potion, so he didn't believe Jun Linyuan could regain his ability. At that thought, Sakia looked at Jun Linyuan. Your Royal Highness, do you want to take her away? Jun Linyuan gave Sakia a sidelong glance. He didn't say another word, but the look in his eyes was full of pride and defiance. Sakia smiled. I guess a battle is inevitable. Both sides had some capable members. Box and OVL, COM, Elders Helion and Dongfang were peak spiritual overlords. They also had 10 intermediate spiritual overlords about the same level as Elder Wu. Sakia was a junior spiritual saint. Behind him were 6 intermediate spiritual overlords and Gucci, a junior spiritual overlord. The 2 Beast Kings were also by his side. They had been trying to stay unnoticed ever since Jun Linyuan's arrival. The Peacock King said, "This is a conflict between humans. Don't get us involved." The spider usually didn't agree with anything the Peacock King said, but this time it blurted out, "That's right." The 2 Beast Kings fell back immediately after that, but didn't stay very far. They sat on a tree a short distance away, and were ready to watch the battle. Meanwhile, Sakia kept his cold gaze on Jun Linyuan. Even without any spiritual essence, the teenager could still intimidate everyone. He was about the only person who could do that. Sakia couldn't help but think about Night Owl. His crown prince was inferior in comparison. The thought made Sakia a little jealous. However, he smirked when he thought about the spiritual essence that Jun Linyuan no longer had. All cultivators needed to keep their minds relatively calm. Sakia felt if he could humiliate Jun Linyuan today, the teenager's cultivation would be greatly affected. Sakia hatched a plan. Your Royal Highness, I won't stop you from leaving. Sakia smiled. However, we'll be humiliated if you take her away like this. You'll have to defeat me if you want to do that. Many people found that request idiotic. Had Sakia lost his mind? Had he forgotten about the Crown Prince's capability? He had just asked for a duel. He must be eager to lose. Jun Linyuan sneered at Sakia. Sakia suddenly felt like a fool. He admitted he had done a stupid thing. But to shake Jun Linyuan's determination, Sakia decided to take the risk. If you can withstand 3 strikes from me, you can take Feng Wu away with you, said Sakia. If your Royal Highness thinks I'm too tough to fight against, you can pick anyone from my side. Bu Jingyu, come here. Sakia dragged his disciple out of the crowd. You can take Feng Wu away if you defeat him. Bu Jingyu was terrified. Chapter 3091, 3091 Lovey-dovey. 3091 Lovey-dovey. Bu Jingyu's face went ghastly pale. He stared at his master, and his mind went blank. He couldn't help but ask himself, who am I? What is this place? What am I doing here? Sakia gave him an encouraging look. Bu Jingyu shook his head repeatedly, wondering what he had done to make his master treat him like this. Gucci patted him on the shoulder. Jingyu, he doesn't have any spiritual essence left. He knew Sakia had appointed Bu Jingyu to humiliate Jun Linyuan. If Jun Linyuan couldn't defeat a mere spiritual king, he would have no reason to be so proud. Sakiya wanted to mess with Jun Linyuan's mind. No spiritual essence. Bu Jingyu almost jumped to his feet. Boxin OVL. COM. He knew Feng Wu had tricked them and taken the real potion away, and she had held the crown prince for so long that she must have used it on him. However, Jun Linyuan moved before Bu Jingyu could warn his master. Nobody knew how he did it, but everybody saw it. To be more precise, they saw Sakiya move. Thump! Jun Linyuan punched Sakiya with his right fist. It looked like Sakiya had been hit by a tornado. The air seemed to twist and warp. Sakiya had always struck one as a tough man, but the impact made him stumble back. The ground cracked under his feet. With each step, his feet sunk deeper into the ground. Thump! 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 Sakiya kept falling back. He only stopped 12 steps later. Bu Jingyu turned pale and looked at Gucci. Didn't he just say that Jun Linyuan didn't have any spiritual essence? Gucci was dumbfounded. Night Owl blew himself up with Jun Linyuan, and both of them should have lost their spiritual essence. Mr. Sakiya. Gucci rushed to Sakiya's side. Meanwhile, everyone from the Zhenwu Empire who knew Jun Linyuan's real condition was relieved. Elder Dongfang and Dongfang Xian weren't among them, so they looked at Sakiya in bewilderment. Had this man lost his mind? Didn't he know how formidable the crown prince was? Sakiya was completely baffled by the outcome. He didn't know how this had happened to him. Feng Wu had tricked him several times, and Jun Linyuan had just humiliated him in front of everybody. Gucci and Sakiya were wondering the same thing. Had Jun Linyuan regained his power? If that were the case, Night Owl would lose whatever advantage he had. Not only that, but Night Owl had also put himself in a difficult spot. Sakiya fought back the blood rushing up his throat. He couldn't spit out blood now. But the crown prince? He stood still after that single strike. Give me a hand, he whispered to Feng Wu. Feng Wu stared at him. Again. His punch could have destroyed a hill. Why did he need her help now? The crown prince didn't say a word, but he swayed a little. Feng Wu immediately caught him by his waist. Dongfang Xian was furious. Would these two people stop being lovey-dovey? Chapter 3092, 3092 Symptoms. 3092 Symptoms. Dongfang Xian looked like she was spitting fire from her eyes. Xianyi glanced at Feng Wu's tight grip on Jun Linyuan, feeling a little envious. She seemed to be very much in love with him. Somehow, Xianyi felt he had been left out. Feng Wu could feel Jun Linyuan shivering. He seemed to be trying to keep something under control. What was it? Feng Wu was perplexed. Meanwhile, Sakiya cupped his fists at Jun Linyuan. Goodbye, Your Royal Highness. I'll see you around. He promptly left after that, and his assassins followed him. So did Gucci. Bu Jingyu looked between Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan, and Feng Wu looked back at him. Boxin OVL. COM. Bu Jingyu panicked when he met Feng Wu's eyes. He dashed off without another moment of hesitation. Mu Yan was the last to leave, but she would look over her shoulder almost after each step to glance at Jun Linyuan. She didn't try to hide the passion in her eyes. However, nobody paid her any attention because too many people gave him that look. Dongfang Xian was doing it right now. Elder Dongfang wondered why the crown prince stopped when he could have captured or killed Sakiya. It was such a wonderful opportunity. Jun Linyuan glanced at the two beast kings perched on a branch nearby. The two beast kings dashed off and ran out of the woods like two streaks of light. Feng Wu was about to introduce the sacred imperial spider, her new friend, to the crown prince, but it was already gone. She was amazed. This place was the spider's home. Why did it run away? Just then, Jun Linyuan let go of Feng Wu's hand. You guys can leave now. He was ordering everybody, Feng Wu included, to leave. Feng Wu was bewildered. Jun Linyuan had needed her help only a moment ago. So why did he want her to leave now? A thought suddenly struck her. She remembered her symptoms when she absorbed the immortal spiritual fruit. Somebody was running toward them. Feng Wu turned around and saw it was Dongfang Xian. She bumped into Feng Wu when she ran past her, probably on purpose. Unfortunately, Feng Wu wasn't as fragile as Dongfeng Ziyun expected. The impact almost knocked Dongfeng Ziyun to the ground. Holding her painful shoulder, Dongfeng Ziyun glared at Feng Wu, wishing she could dig a hole in her with her eyes. Feng Wu only gave her an innocent glance. Dongfeng Ziyun stopped in front of Jun Linyuan. She was a spoiled and short-tempered rich young heiress when dealing with Feng Wu, but her demeanor had completely changed now. She tilted her head and looked at Jun Linyuan with admiration. She looked as innocent as a kitten. Feng Wu was astonished. She rubbed her eyes, thinking she was seeing somebody else. Yes, it was Dongfeng Ziyun. Your Royal Highness. The girl spoke in a soft, childlike voice. Feng Wu was amazed. That tone practically gave her the creeps. Chapter 3093, 3093 Hold it in. 3093 Hold it in. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe those words were coming from that supreme-level medicine refiner. The Crown Prince cast a stern look at Dongfeng Ziyun and walked in the opposite direction. Dongfeng Ziyun panicked and followed him. She didn't know why he was walking away from her. Your Royal Highness, She flew backward before she could finish her sentence. Feng Wu was speechless. So was everybody else. Elder Dongfeng was dumbfounded. The Crown Prince hadn't treated Dongfeng Ziyun like this before. He would ignore her at most. Did she repulse him now? Boxin OVL. COM. Elder Dongfeng was filled with despair. Seeing how fast Jun Linyuan was walking, Feng Wu knew he was having a difficult time. She immediately told the others, "Leave. Now. Stay as far away as you can." She glanced at Elder Helion. Although the elder didn't know why she said that, he trusted her. The girl had proven to be reliable many times over. Elder Helion told his people, "Let's go." Elder Dongfeng also grabbed Dongfeng Ziyun and dashed off. As for Feng Sun and Xian Yi, they only needed one glance from Feng Wu. Before long, Feng Wu was the only one there. She realized she shouldn't be here either. She should get lost. However, she only lifted one foot before she heard the fart that Jun Linyuan had been holding back for so long. It lasted for quite a while. Feng Wu felt like she had been struck by lightning and stopped moving. Her mind went blank for a moment. What did she just hear? However, that was such a long fart. Needless to say, she couldn't laugh. She fought the urge to laugh so hard that the muscles in her stomach twitched. The only thing that could give her away was her trembling shoulders. What should she do now? Could she pretend she hadn't heard anything and just walk away? That seemed to be the only option. Feng Wu was about to slip away when she heard another fart. It was much louder. She was astonished. The Crown Prince farted even louder than other people. It would be ridiculous to pretend she hadn't heard that. Feng Wu straightened her face and slowly turned around. She wondered why Jun Linyuan hadn't dashed off. Why was he still here? He shouldn't have wanted her to hear that. She turned around to see Jun Linyuan about 10 meters away. An extremely venomous snake had coiled around his leg. By now, the snake had fainted from the smell of the fart. When Feng Wu took a closer look, she saw the snake even had white bubbles around its mouth. If she could, she would burst out laughing. She never thought Jun Linyuan could make her want to laugh so much. I can't laugh. Stop. Feng Wu took a deep breath, patted her face, and approached Jun Linyuan. She looked into a pair of angry eyes. Chapter 3094, 3094 Cheer him up. 3094 Cheer him up. How should she describe Jun Linyuan's expression? He had embarrassment written all over his face. When Feng Wu saw the look in his eyes, her first reaction was to flee. But Jun Linyuan was exceptionally good-looking now. He had exquisite features and the smoothest skin. Usually, he looked like he was sulking, but the embarrassment brought some color to his cheeks, and he reminded Feng Wu of a tiger cub trying to look scary. How adorable! The Crown Prince had always been an intimidating figure, and Feng Wu couldn't remember ever seeing him so abashed. Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Wu. Get lost. The temperature seemed to drop. His cheeks were so red that one would think they were bleeding. He kept his gaze on her. Boxin OVL. COM. Feng Wu didn't know how to react. She knew Jun Linyuan was a balloon that could pop at any moment. She carefully approached him, acting as if nothing had happened. That was her first strategy. Jun Linyuan, why are you still here? I thought you had left. She could tell Jun Linyuan wasn't as tense as before, but he was still staring at her. She then tried to change the subject. She asked in a soft voice, "Aren't you curious how I found the immortal spiritual fruit? It was so intense. I almost died." A murderous look flickered in Jun Linyuan's eyes when Feng Wu mentioned death. "They could have killed me." Her gentle voice made him feel sorry for her. When Feng Wu led him to sit on a rock, he followed her and sat down, despite his reluctance. What Feng Wu didn't know was if she hadn't shown up, the crown prince would have killed a lot of people in these woods. She really wanted to laugh when she looked at the snake around Jun Linyuan's leg. It had to be the most unlucky snake of the year. Of all the people here, it had to pick Jun Linyuan as its prey. Jun Linyuan stepped on the snake, instantly killing it. The snake never knew what it had done wrong. Feng Wu didn't know what she was getting into either. She was busy cheering up the crown prince. Although Jun Linyuan had sat down, he didn't look any happier than before. All the plants around him bent away from him, intimidated by his energy. He still had "I'm mad" written all over him. Feng Wu was speechless. She put her arm through his, and started telling him how she had tricked Sakiya. Listening to her gentle voice, he gradually relaxed. Suddenly, Chapter 3095 Damn her. 3095 Damn her. Feng Wu felt the rock under her move. She turned around to find it covered with cracks that looked like a spiderweb. Feng Wu's eyes widened. She involuntarily turned to Jun Linyuan, who was looking back at her. Their eyes met, and everything fell silent for a second. It was as if all sound had disappeared. Feng Wu tried so hard to fight back her laughter that she almost had a cramp. In order not to upset Jun Linyuan further, Feng Wu said, "When I was in the peacock's territory." Jun Linyuan suddenly farted. Feng Wu fought so hard to stop herself from laughing, and had to pretend she heard nothing. She told herself to keep her face straight, if she still wanted to live. Boxin OVL. COM. Rubbing her face, Feng Wu said, "I was in those woods when." There came the familiar sound again. Feng Wu said flatly, "I was." She was interrupted by more farting. She couldn't hold it anymore. Laughter burst out of her chest. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm sorry, but I really tried. Jun Linyuan, I can't hold it anymore. Please stop doing that." Feng Wu really tried not to hurt the crown prince's dignity, but she couldn't help it. She laughed so hard that she buried her face in Jun Linyuan's arms. Jun Linyuan blushed at first. His face then turned livid. Seeing the laughing girl in his arms, he didn't know what to do. He had never felt so embarrassed before. Terrifying energy filled the air. All the trees were pulverized and the ground cracked open. Still, they couldn't change what Jun Linyuan had done. "Jun Linyuan, I didn't mean it. I tried so hard. Just give me 1 minute. I'll stop. I promise." Feng Wu had briefly stopped laughing, but when she realized how hard Jun Linyuan had tried to maintain his image, she started laughing again. The crown prince was furious. He wanted to leave, but the girl seemed to be stuck to him, and he couldn't break free. Of course, Feng Wu wouldn't let him run off. Although she couldn't stop laughing, she knew she had to keep him here. If he ran away, she might not be able to get him back. "Are you done?" Jun Linyuan asked coldly. Feng Wu immediately backed off. To prove that she didn't want to laugh but couldn't help it, she grabbed Jun Linyuan's hand and put it on her stomach. She said matter-of-factly, "See? I have a cramp. I mean it. I really tried not to laugh." Jun Linyuan's face darkened, and his eyes were as cold as ice. He could feel her soft stomach quivering. "Are you in pain?" Feng Wu said softly, "I am. It's all because of you. Rub my stomach for me." "Because of me? Rub your stomach." Jun Linyuan wanted to push her away. However, Feng Wu's eyes suddenly lit up. She felt that something amazing was about to happen. Chapter 3096, 3096 Level 5 Spiritual King. 3096 Level 5 Spiritual King. Feng Wu felt that something amazing was about to happen. When Jun Linyuan rubbed her stomach, she felt the urge to make a breakthrough. Was that possible? Did Jun Linyuan's touch have that effect? That was it. Feng Wu suddenly remembered how her fart from the immortal spiritual fruit had helped people make breakthroughs. She immediately sat on the ground. Something happened before her spiritual essence ran 2 full cycles. Rumble. Feng Wu felt the signs of her own breakthrough. She was already a junior level 3 spiritual king. And just now, she became a junior level 4 spiritual king. Boxin OVL. COM. However, it seemed she wasn't done yet. Feng Wu's breakthrough continued. When she opened her eyes, the sun had risen, and she noticed she had made another breakthrough. She was a level 5 spiritual king. Yes, a level 5 spiritual king. Nobody would believe this. Why would they? Even Feng Wu was astonished. She looked up at Jun Linyuan and realized he had just put down his hand. During her breakthrough, he had kept his hand on his back to provide her with spiritual essence. Feng Wu felt rather guilty. Jun Linyuan was so mad at her, but he still helped her with her breakthrough. She had this opportunity because he farted after digesting the potion. All in all, she had Jun Linyuan to thank for her breakthrough, but she had laughed so hard. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She looked at Jun Linyuan, genuinely feeling sorry. The crown prince's cheeks were red. Was he ill? Feng Wu touched his head and cried, "You have a fever." Feng Wu pitied him even more. "You're ill. It's so cold out here at night, and you haven't recovered yet. You sat here with me for so long, and provided spiritual essence for me." She was overwhelmed with guilt. Jun Linyuan had wanted to tell her it was a symptom of his waking bloodline, but when he saw how worried Feng Wu was, he kept his silence. Recalling how hard Feng Wu had laughed, he turned away from her and wouldn't talk to her. Feng Wu immediately saw what he was doing. She held his arm and said softly, "It's so cold out here. Let's get back to the fortress." She looked up at the sky. "It's going to rain. We can't let you get wet." Jun Linyuan wouldn't respond. Feng Wu took his hand and led him toward the fortress, and he let her, despite looking rather reluctant. As soon as they set foot in the fortress, all eyes were on their joined hands. Wow! Their hands! Many people had been cultivating, but their friends dragged them out to the corridor to watch. This wasn't something they saw every day. Feng Wu was embarrassed by the attention and wanted to let go. Chapter 3097, 3097 Bad Public Opinion. 3097 Bad Public Opinion. Feng Wu wanted to let go, but the crown prince tightened his grip. She couldn't release his hand. So many people had gathered on the fortress wall. Sun Yu and the others all came out. Countless people were talking about Feng Wu and the crown prince. They had different opinions, but they were all equally shocked. Isn't that Feng Wu from the junior arena? That's right. She punched Sakuran, kicked Fuhara, and killed Hashimi. I was so in love with her. Why is she and His Royal Highness holding hands? Wake up. Can you see yourself in the mirror? What makes you think you're good enough for her? Can't I dream about it? Yes, she's pretty and talented, but that's our crown prince. What did Jun Linyuan mean to the people of this fortress? Boxin OVL. COM. He was invincible. When he was a little over 10 years old, he went into the Dayless Woods alone and defeated the 7 Beast Kings. All 7 of them. No one knew what kind of energy he possessed, but they all knew it worked on magical beasts. Even those more powerful than him had to bow their heads. How strange. Feng Wu stared at Jun Linyuan and wanted him to let go. The crown prince wouldn't loosen his grip. Feng Wu looked up at the sky. All these people were putting her under a lot of pressure. Sun Yu and the other team members were thrilled to see this. Are they making it official now? Chu Chu cried out. Official? The other people around them asked excitedly. What do you mean? Has this been going on for a while? That was a level 4 spiritual king. Before, he wouldn't even speak to Chu Chu. Right now, he couldn't wait to hear some gossip. He couldn't help it. Chu Chu wanted to show off how much he knew. That's right. Didn't you hear about it before? More people around them moved closer to listen in. Chu Chu described how Jun Linyuan behaved during the competition between the two schools. That's so sweet, somebody said. No, it isn't, said a girl. Not everybody was as happy. Look at their hands. Feng Wu is holding on to His Royal Highness's hand. You're right. She's so passionate. It's understandable that His Royal Highness can't help himself. She's offering herself to him. Why won't he accept her? She's a level 2 spiritual king, isn't she? She must have put all her efforts into this sort of thing. That's why she hasn't made any progress. Gradually, public opinion turned against Feng Wu. Sun Yu and the others argued with those people. However, their opponents were great in number and were much better at arguing. Sun Yu and his friends weren't capable enough to fight them. Chapter 3098, 3098 Rub her head. 3098 Rub her head. In the end, Sun Yu and his friends had to run away from those people. Why do I feel Xiao Wu is in danger? Chu Chu rubbed his chin. He had thought this was good news, but it seemed Feng Wu had gained more enemies than friends. Sun Yu snorted. They think too highly of themselves and have funny ideas. Just wait and see. Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan had no idea of how big a sensation they had caused. Once they were back at the general's quarters, Feng Wu walked Jun Linyuan back to his room. Jun Linyuan said, "Don't run." Feng Wu was bewildered. What? The crown prince said, "I'll be absorbing the potion for a while." He also had to activate his dragon phoenix bloodline. However, he kept the second part from Feng Wu. Boxinoviel. Com. He decided to tell her after he succeeded. Recalling what happened in the woods earlier, the crown prince blushed and stared at Feng Wu. It'll take me 10 to 14 days. Don't go anywhere. Just stay here in the fortress. Got it? The teenager was so beautiful in the sunlight that Feng Wu felt bewitched. She almost couldn't understand what Jun Linyuan said, and only nodded as she listened. The crown prince rubbed her head and went into his cultivation room before she had a chance to ask any questions. Feng Wu only realized what had happened after Jun Linyuan left. Huh. He had rubbed her head. Only her beautiful master used to do that. Feng Wu touched the top of her head where Jun Linyuan had rubbed it. She didn't feel uncomfortable about it. His touch was easier to accept than she had thought. Huh. Am I in love with Jun Linyuan? No. I can't be. We're buddies. That's all. Feng Wu managed to convince herself and put that thought aside. She then ran out of the room. She had brought back so many badges, and her friends could use some of them. She was right. Sun Yu, Chu Chu and a few others had gathered together in the current students' quarters. They all looked at one another in frustration. As current students, they had very few opportunities to earn badges. They could only explore the outer ring, where essence crystals were hard to come by. Because they hadn't graduated yet, they couldn't go to the middle ring, and they had been making slow progress. Chu Chu said, "We're all spiritual kings and should be qualified to graduate and enter the middle ring." Sun Yu said, "We don't have enough points." Chu Chu said, "Those senior sisters were so mean, but we can't argue with them because we can't get into their area. We need 3,000 points to graduate. One essence crystal is 100 points, and one major's badge is 600 points. But majors hardly ever come to the outer ring, and we never get the chance to fight them. Are we ever going to graduate? I really want to go to the middle ring." "Forget about that. We have to get Zian out. He's locked up. Let's go to Xiao Wu." I'm sure. They were about to ask Feng Wu for help when they heard a knock on the door. Chapter 3099 3099 Kick-Ass. 3099 Kick-Ass. Feng Wu walked in and dumped the bag of badges on the table. "I've brought you a gift," she said generously. She hadn't sorted out the badges that Feng Sun had dug out of the spider's pit, and had brought everything here. "Guys, take whatever you want." Feng Wu sat down like the richest person in the world. However, Sun Yu was eager to tell Feng Wu what had happened to Chen Ziyun, so he ignored the bag and told her, "Xiao Wu, please help our captain." Their captain? Chen Ziyun. Feng Wu thought her offer would be greeted with cheers, but they were asking her for help instead. She leaned forward and asked, "What's going on?" Box and OVL. COM. Sun Yu said, "Captain Chen has been arrested. Please help him." Feng Wu became serious. How did that happen? Why was he arrested? Who did it? Where is he now? Sun Yu and the others calmed down after Feng Wu came back. Chu Chu said, "The other day Captain Chen said His Royal Highness was in love with you. Miss Dongfang Zian said he slandered His Royal Highness, so she had him arrested and locked him up." Feng Wu blushed. Sun Yu said, "But it's the truth. You and His Royal Highness held hands when you came back, right? How can that be slander?" Feng Wu's earlobes turned red. Chu Chu swayed Feng Wu's arm back and forth. "Xiao Wu, let's rescue Captain Chen. We've tried to visit him several times, but they never let us see him. We don't know what his condition is like." Feng Wu thought about Chen Ziyun. He had always been friendly to her. He went with her to the Dayless Woods, even when he knew how dangerous it was. He was a true friend. Feng Wu rested her hands on her hips. "What do we do when someone messes with our friend?" The others said, "Kick their asses." Feng Wu said, "Let's go." Everybody followed her out. Xiao Wu was the crown prince's future wife, and His Royal Highness was madly in love with her. Of course they would follow her. Feng Wu told Chu Chu, "Take that bag." That bag. What was in it? Feng Wu hadn't told them, and they didn't dare ask. All they could think of was to save Chen Ziyun now, and no one paid much attention to the bag. They soon arrived at the jail. "Hey, stop." The guards immediately stopped them. "Do you know what place this is? You can't just go in." Feng Wu glanced at them. Peace Grassland was indeed an incredible place. Even the guards were level 4 spiritual kings. No wonder Sun Yu and the others couldn't get in. Both schools shared the same jail, and each school also provided one elder to run the place together. Even the 2 guards came from one school each. The one who shouted at them was from the military academy. Feng Wu frowned a little. She didn't say anything, but Chu Chu stepped forward and announced, "We're here for our friend. Let us in." Chapter 3100 The Great Feng Wu. 3100 The Great Feng Wu. Sun Yu glanced at Chu Chu, wondering if the latter was too confident in this team. Chu Chu wasn't scared because Feng Wu was with them. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. Before she could say anything, the level 4 spiritual king from the military academy smirked. "Are you breaking a prisoner out of jail? You're only students. Don't make me laugh." His shoulder strap said his name was Changwen. "Are you trying to stop us?" Feng Wu glanced at him. Changwen smirked. "So what? Do you want to force your way in?" Feng Wu said, "No, I'll just walk in." Changwen glanced at her and noticed her badge. She was also a student. Why was she so arrogant? "I told you you can't go in. Are you deaf?" Changwen was always hostile toward the people of Imperial College. Box and OVL. COM. He thought none of the students here could do anything to him, but he was very much mistaken. Thump. Feng Wu only used one strike, and Changwen flew backward. Just like that. Chu Chu looked at Feng Wu in astonishment. So did everybody else. The other guard was a senior sister named Bai Ning from Imperial College, and she was also shocked. Changwen was a level 4 spiritual king. How could a current student's punch have such power? Bai Ning backed off a little, and told someone to fetch the prison officials. Something was about to happen. Changwen crashed to the ground. The pain was excruciating, but it was nothing compared with how much his feelings had been hurt. He had been beaten up by a current student. She had only used one strike, and he had no power to fight back. So, that was crazy. Feng Wu walked into the building without looking at Changwen. Of course, Bai Ning didn't try to stop her. She couldn't even if she wanted to. Changwen almost spat out blood when he saw all the people swagger inside. He put a hand on his chest and stumbled to his feet. He had to complain to someone. He would go to Dongfang Ziyan, the only supreme-level medicine refiner in the fortress. He would also go to Mr. Dai, the highest-ranking prison official. "You'll never get out alive," he shouted after Feng Wu. Feng Wu smirked. That man had no idea what cards she had up her sleeve. She led the team into the building. Chu had never tried something like this before and felt uncertain. "Xiao Wu, where's His Royal Highness?" he whispered. "He's in seclusion," said Feng Wu. What? Everybody felt dizzy. His Royal Highness was in seclusion. How could they do this without him? "Xiao Wu, is that true?" Chu felt his heart sink. "Will he come out soon?" Feng Wu said. "No, it'll take him at least 2 weeks." Chu almost fainted. 2 weeks. They would be buried by then. "Xiao Wu, why don't we leave now?" Chu and the others panicked. Feng Wu was perplexed. Why? Chapter 3101, 3101 The Amazing Girl 1. 3101 The Amazing Girl 1. Feng Wu asked, "Why should we leave now?" Chu whispered to her. "The enemy is too strong. We need His Royal Highness." Feng Wu was speechless. Fighting these weaklings would be a humiliation to Junlin Yuan. Feng Wu waved him off. "Don't worry, you have me." Chu wanted to cry, because he thought Feng Wu was only a level 2 spiritual king. Feng Wu marched off before he could say anything. He had no choice but to follow. However, they looked at one another, and everybody seemed uncertain. Could they get out of this place in one piece? They reached the cells without being stopped. "Where's Chen Ziyan?" Feng Wu frowned a little. "Boxinoviel. Com. Bai Ning was with them the whole time, and had remained silent until now. She said, "Chen Ziyan is on the left." They saw a corridor wide enough for 2 adults to walk side by side, and there were individual cells on both sides of the corridor. The cells were planned out the same way as the entire fortress. Prisoners of the military academy were on the left, and those of Imperial College were on the right. Dozens of prisoners were held here at the moment, and they were all looking at Feng Wu. Bai Ning said, "This is a jail for felons. All the prisoners here have been sentenced to at least decades in prison." Feng Wu said, "Decades? Chen Ziyan had to be locked up for that long, because he said something that Dongfang didn't like." "What a bully!" Xiao Wu, they heard Chen Ziyan's voice. The lively teenager was coiled up in a corner, and whimpering like a kitten. Feng Wu immediately saw the blood and whip marks on Chen Ziyan's face and clothes. She was infuriated. "Hey, who are you people? Who gave you permission to come in?" The warden ran out of his room, holding a whip. He had a full beard, and was a tall, strong man, who was at least a level 5 spiritual king. Feng Wu led the team, so he scolded her. "Get out! Do you want to be killed?" He then raised his whip at Feng Wu. He saw they were all Imperial College students, so he did so without hesitation. A level 5 spiritual king. Chu and the others turned pale. The warden was famous for his cruelty. However, the whip never landed on Feng Wu, because she grabbed the tip of the whip first. The whip was stretched to its limit. The warden held the handle, and Feng Wu held the tip. The warden looked at Feng Wu in surprise. Wasn't the girl a student? She should be a weakling. How could she catch the whip? He saw that the others were also watching them in astonishment. He was displeased. A warden couldn't be defeated like this. Infuriated, he tried to pull the whip back with all his might. However, he realized in frustration that he couldn't move the whip even an inch. Chapter 3102, 3102 The Amazing Girl 2. 3102 The Amazing Girl 2. How did this happen? The warden was astonished. He was a level 5 spiritual king, and she was only a student. How could she fight like his equal? Just then, Feng Wu let go of the whip. There was a loud thump. The momentum made the warden stumble backward. With a loud thump, he smashed into the bars. Ouch! The pain brought tears to his eyes. Feeling paralyzed by the pain, he glared at Feng Wu. "You." Feng Wu didn't say another word, and only threw something at Chu. "Boxinoviel. Com. It was a set of keys. The warden involuntarily reached for his belt, where his keys hung. There was nothing there. Fengwu had given them to Chu Chu. Chu Chu looked at the girl in amazement. When did she get hold of the keys? Why hadn't he seen anything? He wasn't alone. No one else had seen it. Fengwu's movements had been too fast for them to follow. Fengwu glanced at Chu Chu. Open the door. How dare you? They heard an angry voice from behind. Changwen went to get help after Fengwu smacked him away. Dongfang Ziyan was the first person he went to. She happened to be with Zhu Hongyu, one of her suitors, so he came with her. Dongfang Ziyan looked arrogantly around the room until her gaze landed on Fengwu's face. She marched into the prison as if she owned the place. Fengwu was a little surprised to see her. Jun Linyuan had smacked her pretty hard, hadn't he? Elder Dongfang had to carry her away. You're back on your feet fast enough, Fengwu said curiously. Dongfang Ziyan flushed, and she glared at Fengwu. The others were all confused. Had Miss Dongfang Ziyan been ill? Fengwu said innocently. You were injured pretty badly. Are you sure you don't need some more rest? Dongfang Ziyan was exasperated. Zhu Hongyu asked curiously. You know Ziyan was injured. Do you know what happened? Fengwu asked. You don't. Of course he didn't. Dongfang Ziyan would never tell the truth, because the truth was that the crown prince had smacked her away. Shut up. Dongfang Ziyan glared at Fengwu. Stop talking about my injury. Mind your own business. Fengwu smirked. How aggressive. The girl had just threatened her, as if she could intimidate Fengwu. Dongfang Ziyan's eyes glinted. Fengwu, you've injured Changwen and taken away the keys. This is a prison break. She finally found her chance. Take Fengwu down. Her plan was to throw Fengwu in prison, and after that, it would be up to her. As for the crown prince, through her aunt's connections, she learned that the crown prince was in seclusion. She wouldn't miss this opportunity to kill Fengwu. Dongfang Ziyan smiled maliciously and pointed at Fengwu. Take her down. If anyone resists, kill them. Chapter 3103. 3103 The Amazing Girl 3. 3103 The Amazing Girl 3. Fengwu looked at Dongfang Ziyan in silence. She had fought many people, but Dongfang Ziyan stood out as the most stupid of them all. Had she invested so much in refinement that she didn't know how to interact with other people? Dongfang Ziyan turned to the warden. I'll leave her to you. The warden looked at Dongfang Ziyan in shame. Dongfang Ziyan frowned. Do it. The warden wanted to cry. Do it. Fengwu had just kicked his ass. What was he supposed to do now? Dongfang Ziyan was still urging him, so the warden had no choice but to say, Fengwu, go inside the cell. Fengwu looked at him, as if he was an idiot. The warden almost blushed. Fengwu said, Did you ask me to lock myself up? The warden said, Yes. Fengwu said, Is Dongfang Ziyan your mom? You're so obedient. Box and OVL. COM. The people around them sucked in their breaths. The warden's face turned scarlet red, and Dongfang Ziyan ground her teeth. How dare you insult me? Fengwu, I'll kill you. She had wanted to let other people do it. That way, the crown prince wouldn't blame her in the future. But she didn't expect Fengwu to have such a sharp tongue. She couldn't stand it anymore. How could a student be so arrogant? Dongfang Ziyan drew out the soft-bladed sword around her waist and pointed at Fengwu's throat. Die! Although she spent most of her time on refinement, she still kept up with the basic cultivation training. After 20 years, she was a level 4 spiritual king. She believed she was capable enough to take down a student. Of course, she was about the only one who thought that way. No one knew how Fengwu did it. By the time they saw what had happened, her hand was already on the hilt of Dongfang Ziyan's sword. Dongfang Ziyan was petrified. She thought she could easily defeat Fengwu, but the latter had suppressed her. Zhu Hongyu was shocked. He cried out, Stop. But it was too late. Fengwu swiped the blade across Dongfang Ziyan's throat. It almost looked like Dongfang Ziyan cut her own neck open. Shit. No. Stop. Fengwu moved away, and a mist of blood came out of Dongfang Ziyan's throat. Everybody stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. How incredible! That girl was the only supreme-level medicine refiner in the fortress. Zhu Hongyu was so frightened that he thought his heart would stop. He rushed to Dongfang Ziyun's side and held her in his arms. Ziyun! Ziyun! Are you all right? Blood kept coming out of her neck, and it was a terrifying scene. Zhu Hongyu glared at Feng Wu. Have you lost your mind? Don't you know she's the only supreme-level medicine refiner in the fortress? She's Elder Dongfang's niece. If anything happens to her, you're dead. You're still dead even if she's all right. Zhu Hongyu carried Dongfang Ziyun away after threatening Feng Wu. Chapter 3104. 3104 It's her. 3104 It's her. Everybody fell silent, because they were still in shock. Yu, the ward and Sun Yu Chu Chu, the prisoners and Chen Ziyan were all dumbfounded. Chu Chu tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve. Xiao Wu will miss Dongfang Ziyun die. Feng Wu said, I don't know. She didn't know. Chu Chu and the others almost lost their strength. Their faces were so white, and they thought the sky would cave in. While Zhu Hongyu carried Dongfang Ziyun away, 2 other men arrived. The warden cried out, Lord Dai, Lord Mo. They were the highest-ranking officials of this prison. Lord Dai was from the military academy, and Lord Mo was from Imperial College. They were both spiritual overlords and about the same level as Elder Wu. They came as fast as they could, but were still a little too late. They ran into Zhu Hongyu with Dongfang Ziyun in his arms. You. Lord Dai immediately saw the bleeding girl. Boxin OVL. COM. Blood was splattered all over Zhu Hongyu's chest and face, and the girl's face was almost covered with blood. However, Lord Dai still recognized Dongfang Ziyun. Miss Dongfang. Lord Dai couldn't believe his eyes. Hardly anything could shake him this way. She was Elder Dongfang's favorite niece, and a necessary member of the military academy, if they wanted to defeat Imperial College. The military academy had a supreme-level medicine refiner, but Imperial College didn't. Therefore, the latter had to get their medicine from the military academy, and felt rather inferior. However, their important member had just been. What happened? Lord Dai bellowed. Everybody jumped. Sun Yu and Chu Chu looked at each other in terror. Holy crap. Oh God. Lord Dai was nicknamed Tiger. He was as short-tempered as he was ruthless. Xiao Wu had offended the wrong man. The warden was from the military academy, and Feng Wu had just beaten him up. Naturally, he wouldn't speak up for her. It's her. It's her. He pointed at Feng Wu. She killed Miss Dongfang. Kill. The word made Lord Dai's stomach lurch. He frowned, and turned to glare at Feng Wu. You. Zhu Hongyu also nodded. Yes, it's her. There was nothing more to say. Lord Dai reached for Feng Wu. Stop. Lord Mo stepped out and stopped Lord Dai's attack. Everybody was shocked. The warden, Feng Wu's friends, and even the prisoners couldn't believe their eyes. This. Were the 2 officials fighting each other? Lord Dai glowered at Lord Mo. Out of my way. Chapter 3105. 3105 Under his armpit. 3105 Under his armpit. Lord Mo noticed that the fingers on Lord Dai's right hand were crooked like an eagle's claw. If he attacked Feng Wu, she wouldn't stand a chance. Had Lord Mo met Feng Wu before? He had. He had seen her only a few hours before in the Dayless Woods. Elder Hellion had gathered a group of elders to rescue Feng Wu, but instead of doing that, they only saw how intimate the Crown Prince and Feng Wu seemed. Lord Dai hadn't been there because the military academy only sent Elder Dongfang and Dongfang Ziyun. After they returned to the fortress, Elder Hellion told them never to mess with Feng Wu. Not only that, they had to respect her as much as they could. As for the reason, Lord Mo knew it was because of the relationship between Feng Wu and His Royal Highness. He didn't like the arrangement, but had to protect her anyway. He felt rather conflicted, yet he still stood between Lord Dai and Feng Wu. Lord Dai stared at him. Are you going to keep doing this? Lord Mo said, I have to. He then added, Feng Wu is with His Royal Highness. Even if she made a mistake, only His Royal Highness can discipline her. We don't have that right. Of course, Lord Dai wouldn't believe him. If you won't get out of my way, fight me. Boxin OVL. COM. Lord Dai charged at Lord Mo, and the latter had to react. In a matter of seconds, they exchanged hundreds of blows. No one dared to stay close, and they kept moving away from them. The poor prisoners had nowhere to hide, and the wind kicked up by the battle nearly shaved them bald. Lord Dai and Lord Mo were roughly on the same level, and their battle reached an impasse. Feng Wu kept her eyes on them, and soon noticed that when Lord Dai fought, his spiritual essence would slow down a little when it flowed past a point about 10 centimeters below his armpit. It was very slight. Even Lord Mo hadn't realized it, but Feng Wu had. She told Lord Mo, "Punch him in the spot 10 centimeters below his armpit." Lord Mo wouldn't listen to her. He only saw Feng Wu as a girl whom the crown prince favored. What could she possibly know? But Lord Dai didn't see it that way. Feng Wu's words were like a thunderclap in his ears. How could she know where his weakness was? Who was she? Who told her that? Lord Dai involuntarily tried to shield the spot that Feng Wu mentioned. It was too deliberate to ignore. Lord Mo found it odd. Did Lord Dai just dodge the attack? That was to say, Lord Dai picked up his speed and tried to end this battle before anything else went wrong. However, his behavior revealed his plan. Lord Mo immediately saw through his actions. The spot 10 centimeters below Lord Dai's left armpit was indeed his weak spot. No matter how Feng Wu had learned that, once that was revealed, Lord Dai became less intimidating. When he tried to cover that spot, his other parts became more vulnerable. Chapter 3106, 3106 Self-Defense. 3106 Self-Defense. Feng Wu. Lord Mo glanced at Feng Wu again, amazed by her ability. Still, the most important thing right now was to defeat Lord Dai before he injured Feng Wu. At that thought, Lord Mo moved faster. Before long, he took Lord Dai by surprise. Thump. Lord Mo punched Lord Dai 10 centimeters under his armpit. The punch wouldn't have made much impact if it hadn't landed on that spot. Ah! Lord Dai cried out in pain, and his face drained of all color. Putting a hand over that spot, he bent over and couldn't stand straight. With Feng Wu still behind him, Lord Mo kept his cold gaze on Lord Dai, in case the latter tried to jump at Feng Wu. Lord Dai waved his hand, indicating that the fight was over. It was too painful. The two schools had always competed against each other, but they never wanted to destroy the other side. Boxin OVL. COM. Lord Mo stopped attacking Lord Dai right away. Lord Dai adjusted his breathing to ease the pain, and he gave Feng Wu a bewildered look. How did the girl know about his weak spot? Feng Wu seemed to read his mind, so she smiled at him. That's because I'm a semi-divine medicine refiner. Semi-divine medicine refiners were like gods in the field, and they only needed to glance at somebody to know what was wrong with them. To ordinary people, they were as good as fairies that could bring people back from the dead. Everybody was dumbfounded when Feng Wu said that. They didn't know what to say. Somebody mumbled, "Will she ever stop bragging?" Everybody nodded. That was right. They would sing her praises if she said she was a supreme-level medicine refiner, but a semi-divine one was simply over the top. Lord Dai was so frustrated that he couldn't speak a word. He almost couldn't contain the rage in his chest. He could spit fire with his eyes. Lord Dai pointed at Dongfang Ziyun, who was still lying in Zhu Hongyu's arms. "What about this? Did you kill her?" Feng Wu said, "Watch your language. She wanted to kill me, and what I did was self-defense." Lord Dai snorted and asked the warden, "Is that true?" The warden shook his head. "No." Lord Dai glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu shrugged. "What weapon did I use?" The warden didn't know how to answer that question. Everybody looked at the ground where the soft-bladed sword lay. Dongfang Ziyun had wrapped it around her waist as her belt, and would draw it out when needed. It had the Dongfang family emblem on it, and was easy to spot. "That's Miss Dongfang's weapon," the warden said hesitantly. Lord Dai suddenly had a bad feeling. Feng Wu put her hands behind her back, feeling completely at ease. She glanced at the warden and smiled. Who drew the weapon first? Warden, so many people were watching. You must tell the truth. The warden had wanted to make something up, but he paled when he looked around. Chapter 3107. 3107 She'll define herself. 3107 She'll define herself. The warden gave up on that idea when he realized who was watching him. Apart from the people of the two schools, there were also the prisoners. He had treated these people rather badly, and they would never help him with his lie. Feng Wu couldn't have picked a better spot. He almost felt that she had chosen this place on purpose. Seeing the look in Lord Dai's eyes, the warden said, Miss Dongfang attacked first. Lord Dai's face darkened. Feng Wu said unhurriedly, Why did Miss Dongfang want to kill me? The warden said, Because you were instigating a jailbreak. Feng Wu smiled at him. Was I? She explained the definition to the others. What is a jailbreak? It refers to breaking prisoners out of jail through violent means. Feng Wu asked Lord Dai, Did I do that? The warden gritted his teeth. You stole my keys. Voxin com. Feng Wu laughed. You're the warden. Isn't it your responsibility to guard the keys? The warden blushed. Lord Dai stared at Feng Wu. You didn't, but you were going to and almost made it. Are you going to deny that? Feng Wu said, Yes, I am. Somebody snickered, but it was soon muffled. Lord Dai stared at Feng Wu. Why is that? Feng Wu glanced at the warden. Do you remember the definition? Repeat it for me. The warden involuntarily followed the order. It refers to breaking prisoners out of jail through violent means. He then realized it was Feng Wu who had given him the order. Feng Wu nodded. Lord Dai, even the warden knows the answer. Why don't you? Lord Dai stared at Feng Wu and waited for her to explain further. The others looked at her as well. She was like the sun, and no one could ignore the radiance she gave off. Lord Mo's opinion of her began to change. When Elder Hellion had gathered the elders to rescue some random girl who was trapped in the Dayless Woods because of her own reckless actions, Lord Mo had disliked the girl for it. However, he had to follow the order. In the Dayless Woods, she clung to His Royal Highness and wouldn't let go. Lord Mo found it highly inappropriate. When he saw how severely Feng Wu had injured Dongfang Ziyun, he felt he had had enough of the girl. However, what happened after that completely changed his mind. She was smart, farsighted, and unperturbed. Lord Mo's opinion of her had certainly changed. Could there be something special about her? Therefore, Lord Mo still had some doubts about Feng Wu. Feng Wu was smiling at Lord Dai, a man who outranked her by far. She didn't know what Lord Mo thought of her, but she had never found it necessary to explain herself. She would define herself. Chapter 3108. 3108 Sharp Tongue. 3108 Sharp Tongue. Feng Wu kept her gaze on Lord Dai. It refers to breaking prisoners out of jail through violent means. Prisoners. Remember that word. She then gestured at Chu Chu to set Chen Ziyan free. Chu Chu wondered if Lord Dai would kill him for it, but he still followed Feng Wu's order. He helped Chen Ziyan out of his cell. Chen Ziyan was clever enough to see what was going on. He immediately put on a show, making his injuries seem much more severe than they really were. As soon as Chu Chu put his arm around Chen Ziyan, he fell onto Chu Chu. Chu Chu shouted, Captain Chen. Captain Chen, are you all right? Chen Ziyan clung to Chu Chu, who half-dragged him out of the cell. There were obvious whip marks on Chen Ziyan's clothes, and the bloodstains were quite astonishing. Feng Wu had given him a supreme-level golden crow pill, so he wasn't all that severely injured, but he certainly looked the part. Feng Wu was furious. Lord Dai said, He just came out of a jail cell. Doesn't that make him a prisoner? Feng Wu laughed. He's locked up, so he's a prisoner. Lord Dai, as the leading official of this jail, you aren't very smart. Lord Dai was embarrassed. Boxin com. If Lord Mo hadn't injured him, he wouldn't have let her say such things. He held back his rage because he wasn't Lord Mo's match now. Feng Wu smirked. Since you've called Chen Ziyan a prisoner, Warden, please tell us what a prisoner is. The warden panicked and glanced at Lord Dai. Lord Dai glared at him. Speak. Feng Wu chuckled. Some people refused to be sensible unless they were forced to. Lord Dai was just like that. He was forced to reason with Feng Wu. The warden had to explain what a prisoner was. A prisoner is someone who is serving a sentence in prison because they've broken the law. Feng Wu said, Good. Tell me, what law did my friend break? What was his sentence? Why is he serving it? Why was he whipped? Speak. The warden shuddered and looked into the distance. Zhu Hongyu had carried Dongfang Ziyun away, and no one could help him. Lord Dai said, Answer her. The warden was speechless. What was he supposed to say? Dongfang Ziyun told them to lock the boy up and torture him. However, that couldn't be openly discussed. Feng Wu smiled. What an interesting facility you've got here. You can arrest and torture people for no reason. Doesn't that mean you can drag people here and kill them just because you don't like them? Lord Dai flushed. Young lady, it's not what you think. Feng Wu smirked. It's not. You've done it, haven't you? Lord Dai was speechless. The girl had a sharp tongue. Chapter 3109. 3109 Interrogation. 3109 Interrogation. Lord Dai had to put some pressure on the warden. If you won't say anything, let one of your men explain it. There were 10 men who worked under the warden. The warden panicked a little because he knew he couldn't cover for Dongfang Ziyun anymore. She was probably dead anyway, so he didn't need to worry about her coming after him. At that thought, the warden said loudly, It was Miss Dongfang. She put him here. Feng Wu asked, What about his wounds? They're her doing too. The warden said loudly, She told us to torture and interrogate Chen Ziyun. Yes, it was her. She gave the order. Feng Wu smiled. What did you try to get out of him? The warden hesitated. Feng Wu said, Answer me. The warden said, Miss Dongfang said Chen Ziyun was your minion. We should break his leg just to humiliate you. Feng Wu was furious, but didn't let it show. She only smirked. What crime did Chen Ziyun commit? The warden didn't dare speak a word. Feng Wu said, Speak. Seeing that Lord Dai had no intention of stopping Feng Wu, the warden had no choice but to say, Miss Dongfang said Chen Ziyun slandered His Royal Highness. Slander? Feng Wu smiled. How did he do that? The warden cringed a little. Chen Ziyun said Miss Feng Wu would be the crown prince's future wife. Everybody fell silent, and all eyes were on Feng Wu. It was a rather tricky accusation. One could argue either way, and it all depended on how serious it was. Lord Dai stared at Feng Wu. Miss Feng Wu, are you the crown prince's future wife? If the answer was yes, then Chen Ziyun hadn't slandered the crown prince. If the answer was no, Chen Ziyun hadn't really been wronged. Lord Emo rubbed his nose. That was a tricky question. How was the girl supposed to answer it? I don't know if Miss Feng Wu is the crown prince's future wife, but... Lord Emo stepped in. Lord Dai, you didn't go to the Dayless Woods last night, did you? Lord Dai was looking for an opportunity to scold Feng Wu, and he frowned when he heard Lord Mo's question. Something big happened last night, someone said from the doorway. Elder Hellion had arrived. He glanced at Lord Dai. I gave the order to your elder Dongfang, but your school didn't send any elders. Lord Dai didn't want to talk to Elder Hellion, but he didn't have another choice. He asked, What order? Elder Hellion said, His Royal Highness was confronting Sakiya, and told all the elders to be ready for combat. We were supposed to assemble in the center of the Dayless Woods. Didn't Elder Dongfang tell you? Lord Dai's stomach lurched. The Crown Prince had summoned them, but Elder Dongfang withheld that information. That was a serious matter. He looked at Lord Emo. Chapter 3110. 3110 Is Miss Dongfang dead? 3110 Is Miss Dongfang dead? Lord Emo nodded. All the elders of Imperial College went to the Dayless Woods, but your school only sent Elder Dongfang and Miss Dongfang Ziyun. Lord Dai couldn't understand why Elder Dongfang did that. Elder Hellion said, Everybody who went there knows how His Royal Highness treated Xiao Wu. They wouldn't let go of each other. Feng Wu blushed. To further convince the others, Elder Hellion snorted. After we left, they spent the night alone. Feng Wu was astonished. Elder Hellion said, they were holding hands when they returned this morning, and so many people saw them. Ask around, and you'll know what their relationship is like. Elder Hellion sounded like he was Feng Wu's father. He even asked Feng Wu, kiddo, am I right? Feng Wu only blushed. Lord Dai could find out from anyone, so he knew Elder Hellion wasn't lying. Future wife or not, Feng Wu was involved with the crown prince now. In that case, Chen Ziyan had done nothing wrong, and Dongfang Ziyan had abused her power. Lord Dai was troubled, but he wouldn't let Feng Wu off the hook. He stared at Feng Wu. What's your relationship with His Royal Highness? Instantly. Whoosh. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Yes, answer the question. What was their relationship? Everybody wanted an answer. Before, Feng Wu would tell them they were only friends, but she had to save Chen Ziyun. She hesitated. She could feel all eyes on her, and she became rather shy. Lord Dai smirked, waiting for an answer. Feng Wu said, well. Lord Dai said, let's change the question then. Did you say you're a semi-divine medicine refiner? Feng Wu said, that's right. Lord Dai said, prove it. If you can prove that, I'll believe that His Royal Highness has feelings for you. The others agreed with him. If Feng Wu was a semi-divine medicine refiner, anything was possible. That was easy. Feng Wu was about to demonstrate her medical skills when she heard angry footsteps. They were so loud that the ground shook. Everybody turned around, angry at the intruder. However, they didn't dare say a word when they saw who it was. It was Elder Dongfang. Dongfang Ziyun's aunt. She was carrying Dongfang Ziyun in her arms. Elder Hulian's heart sank. Damn it. Was Dongfang Ziyun dead? Chapter 3111. 3111 Grandma Dongfang. 3111 Grandma Dongfang. Elder Hulian's heart sank a little, and he wondered if Dongfang Ziyun really was dead. If that were the case, they would have a much bigger problem. At that thought, Elder Hellion stepped forward and shielded Feng Wu from Elder Dongfang's gaze. Elder Dongfang glared at him, like she would burn a hole in him. Out of my way! Elder Dongfang bellowed. Can't do that, said Elder Hellion. Elder Dongfang put Dongfang Ziyun in Zhuhong Yu's arms. She then pushed Elder Hellion out of her way. Elder Hellion panicked a little. Xiao Wu was a treasure, both to the Crown Prince and to Imperial College. He couldn't allow anything to happen to her. He reached out and dragged Feng Wu closer, letting her stand behind him. Elder Dongfang ground her teeth. Feng Wu, look what you've done. Feng Wu asked innocently. What did I do? Elder Dongfang glared at her and took a deep breath. She had to control her rage, or Dongfang Ziyun would die. You almost killed her. Elder Dongfang stared at Feng Wu. Do you deny that? Feng Wu seemed surprised. You should get your facts straight. I was only defending myself, and all these people can testify to that. I'll sue you if you keep slandering me. Elder Dongfang almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Elder Hellion was obviously on Feng Wu's side. Xiao Wu, don't admit to things you didn't do. If someone tries to make you say otherwise, I'll fight to the death for you. Don't worry. Even if I'm dead, His Royal Highness will protect you. You're his treasure. Feng Wu blushed, but didn't say anything. However, those words affected Elder Dongfang. She had tried to intimidate Feng Wu with her power, but now, she realized Feng Wu had the Crown Prince behind her. So many people saw what happened in the Dayless Woods, and word would soon get out. Lord Dai looked at Elder Dongfang, hoping to hear her deny it since she had been to the Dayless Woods. However, Elder Dongfang never said a word. Lord Dai's heart sank. That was to say, Elder Hellion was right, and Feng Wu really was the Crown Prince's treasure. That was... Elder Dongfang tried to reason with Feng Wu. All right, we'll forget about your crime for the time being. Self-defense or not, you have to admit you inflicted that wound on Ziyun's neck, don't you? Hey Grandma, don't make things up. I didn't do anything. Feng Wu retorted. Elder Dongfang thought she would stop breathing. Why was the girl so frustrating? What was the matter with the crown prince? Why didn't he favor a nice girl like Ziyun? Elder Dongfang took a few deep breaths to control her rage. However, her cheeks still trembled with her anger. Fine. You don't need to take responsibility. Help Ziyun now. That was Elder Dongfang's real objective. Chapter 3112. 3112 Please help her. 3112 Please help her. Help her. Feng Wu gave Elder Dongfang an amazed look. Me? Save her? The other people around them were equally baffled. That didn't seem right. Elder Dongfang stared at Feng Wu and said coldly, Yes. You have to save her. Feng Wu shook her head. I don't think that'll happen. Elder Dongfang glared at her. Are you going to watch her die? Feng Wu said. Of course not. But isn't Miss Dongfang the only supreme-level medicine refiner in the fortress? Those words sent Elder Dongfang's rage to a new level. To make it worse, the others all agreed with Feng Wu. Lord Dai said, What can Feng Wu possibly do? The others nodded. If Elder Hellion had a tail, he would be wagging it non-stop. The more time he spent with Feng Wu, the more adorable he found her. Elder Dongfang had always been such a proud woman, but now, he couldn't imagine seeing her like this. Elder Dongfang had never been so embarrassed before. To save her niece, she had to put her pride aside. She stared at Feng Wu. What will it take to let you treat her? Feng Wu said. But I don't know anything. Elder Dongfang said. Cut it out. You're a semi-divine medicine refiner, and no one can change that. Everybody stared at Elder Dongfang in astonishment. A semi-divine medicine refiner. Feng Wu. Wasn't she only 13 or 14? She hadn't graduated yet. Had Elder Dongfang lost her mind? Elder Hellion was thrilled to hear that, but Lord Dai wasn't all that happy. Only moments ago, he had asked Feng Wu to prove she was a semi-divine medicine refiner, but Elder Dongfang had just done it for her. That can't be true, said Lord Dai. Yes, it can. Elder Dongfang glared at Lord Dai. I was there when she made the semi-divine potion. Not a pill, but a potion. Do you know what that means? Elder Dongfang ignored the ghastly pale Lord Dai and stared at Feng Wu. Do you deny you're a semi-divine medicine refiner? All eyes were on Feng Wu. Feng Wu's friends were especially shocked. They almost forgot to blink. Damn, if that was true, they had just made a very powerful ally. They thought they were going to faint. Everybody watched Feng Wu, waiting for a reply. Feng Wu sighed and turned to Elder Dongfang. You're an elder on the same level as Elder Hellion. Do you see how well-behaved Elder Hellion's students are? As for yours. Chapter 3113. 3113 200,000? 3113 200,000. Elder Dongfang was told off. Feng Wu had scolded the most senior elder of the military academy. The old lady outranked her by far. The grumpy Elder Dongfang had to fight back her rage and beg Feng Wu for help. However, her tone didn't soften at all. Feng Wu, are you going to help her or not? She even threatened Feng Wu. If you refuse, I'll go to the school masters. I'll even go to the general. You won't sound so righteous then. Feng Wu found those words idiotic. She thought, does she know the general is my godfather? I even have a note from His Majesty. Grandma, do you think you're better connected than me? However, when she saw Dongfang Ziyun and her bloody neck, she felt sorry for the girl. At the end of the day, Feng Wu was too kind to watch somebody die in front of her. She glanced at Elder Dongfang. I guess I can help her. Do it now. Elder Dongfang urged her. Feng Wu shrugged. Elder Dongfang asked, what? Feng Wu said, pay up. Elder Dongfang said, what? Feng Wu said, do you think you can use the services of a semi-divine medicine refiner for free? I'm not that kind. Asking to be paid for one's service was the most natural thing. Elder Dongfang didn't expect to hear that from Feng Wu. You don't sound like a student of Imperial College at all. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. Doesn't your school see money as the most worthless thing? What? Feng Wu stared at Elder Hellion. Elder Hellion rubbed his nose. He glared at Elder Dongfang. Why did she have to bring that up? Feng Wu found Elder Hulian's demeanor rather frustrating. Money was the most worthless thing. Without money, how could the school support itself? Feng Wu dragged Elder Hulian to the side and lowered her voice. How many mines do we have? What about the military academy? Elder Hulian asked. How do you know we have mines? Feng Wu glared at him. Don't beat around the bush. Elder Hulian smiled wryly even as he told the truth. They have 4, while we have a very old one. Feng Wu stared at him, as if he was an idiot. Elder Hulian stammered. They've been luckier than us. Feng Wu ignored Elder Hulian and walked up to Elder Dongfang, sticking out 2 fingers. Elder Dongfang frowned. 20,000 essence crystals. Feng Wu grinned. Elder Dongfang asked. 200,000. She frowned a little. Everybody was shocked. Holy crap. Feng Wu had asked for an exorbitant price. It would cost Elder Dongfang a fortune this time. 200,000 essence crystals. Sun Yu and Chu Chu were almost in tears. When they explored the outer layer, they would consider themselves very lucky if they found 1 or 2 essence crystals on one trip. Xiao Wu had just asked for 200,000. 200,000 essence crystals. Chapter 3114. 3114 2 mines. 3114 2 mines. 200,000 essence crystals. Chu Chu and Sun Yu wanted to embrace each other and cheer loudly. Being students of Imperial College, they knew how poor their school was. Each essence crystal meant a lot to them. The military academy was much wealthier, and they had always envied them. Elder Hulian was even more excited than they were. As an elder of the school, he knew their financial situation. The school barely had enough money to give out rewards. The rewards in the exchange center came from the Zhenwu Empire. Both schools had their own properties such as the mines. The military academy had 4 mines of various sizes, which was where their elders and students cultivated. Those mines helped students to graduate faster, so that they could go to the middle ring to look for essence crystals. It was a very efficient arrangement. Without such resources, Imperial College was impoverished. When Feng Wu stuck out 2 fingers, Elder Hulian was thrilled. What a clever girl. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. She ground her teeth. 200,000. 200,000 essence crystals. Sun Yu and the others nearly screamed. But to their surprise, Feng Wu shook her head. Why? Was it 200,000? Was it 20,000? Sun Yu and the others were disappointed. Elder Dongfang smirked. She was right. Feng Wu's arrogance was only for show. She wouldn't dare go to the general. Elder Dongfang couldn't be any more wrong. Feng Wu spoke again. 200,000 essence crystals? Who told you that was what I wanted? Feng Wu said in amazement. Elder Dongfang gritted her teeth. Then why did you stick out 2 fingers? Feng Wu said. I'm talking about essence crystal mines. Her voice was loud enough for everybody to hear. Everyone sucked in their breaths. What? What did Feng Wu say? Essence crystal mines? Did she say mine? I'm not deaf, am I? Yes, she said mines. Immediately, everyone gave Feng Wu strange looks. Elder Hulian was astonished. Elder Dongfang's face went ghastly pale, and she couldn't utter a word. The prisoners thought they were dreaming. Feng Wu crossed her arms with a calm smile on her face. It hurts. Dongfang Ziyan was still in Zhu Hongyu's arms. Her bleeding hadn't stopped. If she wasn't treated, she would eventually bleed out. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. What did you say? Feng Wu shrugged. Elder Dongfang ground her teeth. There's no way I'll agree to that. Feng Wu said indifferently. I see. Elder Dongfang said. Ask for something else. Chapter 3115. 3115 The most important thing. 3115 The most important thing. Feng Wu said succinctly. Not going to happen. Elder Dongfang ground her teeth. Feng Wu, do you know what you're talking about? Feng Wu said, I know. Elder Dongfang looked like her eyes were going to bleed. Aren't you afraid of the general hearing about this? Feng Wu shrugged. Do you think you have a better patron than I do? Elder Dongfang was speechless. She never thought Feng Wu would mention her patron in public. Feng Wu was referring to the general, her godfather, but Elder Dongfang thought she was referring to the crown prince. Of course, the old lady had no such patron, and she was so frustrated. Elder Dongfang said, "I can give you 200,000 essence crystals." Holy crap! She really had that many essence crystals. Sun Yu and the others stared at Feng Wu in excitement. So did Elder Helian. He wanted to tell Feng Wu that 200,000 essence crystals were enough, and she should know when to stop. However, Feng Wu's demeanor was so intimidating that no one dared move closer. Even Elder Dongfang was dwarfed in comparison. She had never felt so frustrated before. However, Feng Wu shook her head. 200,000 essence crystals? Is that how cheap Dongfang Xian's life is? If Dongfang Xian were lucid now, she would have been furious. Elder Dongfang glared at Feng Wu. "I'll never give you two minds." Feng Wu said, "I see." Elder Dongfang took a few deep breaths. She felt both angry and helpless. Just then, Zhu Hongyu cried out, "Xian! Xian! Are you all right? Xian!" Somehow, Dongfang Xian was convulsing, and white foam gathered around her mouth. Feng Wu glanced at her and sighed. "I see you're going to miss out on the last chance to save her." Elder Dongfang said, "Are you still not going to help her?" Feng Wu sighed. "I'm a semi-divine medicine refiner. I have my price." Elder Dongfang fought back her rage. "One mine. I won't give you anything else." "One mine." The crowd went wild. Sun Yu and his friends couldn't begin to imagine how many essence crystals there were in a mine. They only knew that the school was going to be rich. Elder Helian was the one who knew how many essence crystals they could get out of a mine. That was why he was stunned. Imperial College had tried everything but couldn't obtain a mine. However, Feng Wu had just gotten them a new one all on her own. Were essence crystals the most important thing in a mine? No. A mine was important because it could benefit one's cultivation. The effect of cultivating inside a mine was quite different from cultivating outside. Inside a mine, one could make twice the progress in half the time. As for Elder Dongfang, everybody from the military academy stared at her in astonishment. The mines belonged to the school. They weren't Elder Dongfang's personal property. How could she give one away? That wouldn't be allowed. But the situation was quite unique at the moment. However, Feng Wu looked at Elder Dongfang. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."